This is the DJI Air 2S, the latest offering from drone manufacturer DJI. And on this video, I'm going to talk about all the things I love about this drone, so let's get started. The first obvious point to make on this drone, it is not the DJI Mini 2. Most of you on my channel do actually watch my channel for the smaller sub 249 gram drones, and there is no doubting that those drones do have a huge appeal to the masses. Let's take the Mini 2 for example. It is lightweight, it is very portable, it has excellent battery life, it has an amazing 4K camera, and it has got absolutely excellent wind resistance, and it is very, very cheap in comparison to something like this. If you want to hear my long-term review on the DJI Mini 2, then you can do so using this card, and there will be a link in the description below. But let's get onto the Air 2S, and hopefully in this video I will try and enlighten you as to why something like this might not be that much of a silly decision to buy after all. So the first thing to notice when you buy something like this and you take off for your very maiden flight, as soon as you take something like this up in the air, instantly one word comes to mind. That one word is confidence. It wasn't until I got my Mavic Air 2 that I thought I was completely happy with the Mavic Mini and the Mini 2. But when you get something like this, the Mavic Air 2 or the Mavic 2 Pro or the Air 2S, which this is, when you put these drones up in the air, suddenly you can almost forget about the weather. With the Mini 2, I'm constantly checking weather apps, constantly seeing if it's suitable to fly. Whereas something like this, you just get so much more confidence, knowing it is bigger, it is heavier, it does have more powerful motors, and it can just withstand winds far in excess of the DJI Mini 2. Actually meaning that something like this you can actually use a lot more often because it's that more resistant to the strong weather condition. Secondly, I found that it is just so much easier to get absolutely beautiful cinematic footage, and a lot of that is down to the weight. Now, I do appreciate that some of the settings can be changed on the Mavic Mini and the Mini 2 to slow down rotation, but ultimately it's still a powerful drone in a lightweight shell, so some of the movements tend to be quite jerky. But with something like this, that just simply does not happen. Even by accident, when you're not trying to get smooth cinematic footage, it just seems to be able to enable it and is capable of it. And that nicely brings me onto the main party piece of this drone, that absolutely superb 1-inch sensor. The 1-inch sensor is absolutely a game changer, and it just allows you to capture so much more detail, especially now it's paired with that 5.4K resolution as well. Honestly, for a standard creator, this drone would be absolutely fantastic. If you are a prosumer or a professional and you want this drone for professional services and professional shots, this drone will literally tick all of the boxes. You also get some really nice flat color profiles such as HLG and D-Log, meaning that if you are into post-production editing, you can sort of use those settings such as D-Log HLG, meaning that doesn't burn in as much color saturation, so you can apply your own corrections in post-production. So really, you know, when I did my flight test against the DJI Mini 2 in low light conditions and in daylight conditions, I do appreciate that for the money that you pay for the Mini 2, that did more than hold its own. But really, the low light conditions is where this drone really excelled. Some of the low light photos that I took when blown up on bigger screen, the details in the shadows were just so much more clear. And ultimately, like I say, that 1-inch sensor, in addition to the flat color profiles and overall that 5.4K camera, is absolutely this drone's complete party piece. My second favourite feature is the ActiveTrack 4.0 and the APAS 4.0. I did an absolutely unbelievable test with this drone where I went out into a sort of wooded area and to see if this drone could navigate out of it. And thanks to the addition of the new top sensors on this drone, increasing this drone's obstacle avoidance capabilities, I can safely say it was hugely impressive. As you can see in the example on screen, at one point when I was getting the drone to follow me, I actually managed to get it to lose me, and this drone actually managed to find me again. That was absolutely mind-blowing and absolutely a full testament to how good the technology is built into this drone. So when it comes to ActiveTrack, I'm sure many people will have the same complaint and same comments. This drone does not have side obstacle avoidance sensors, and yeah, it's slightly frustrating and I do wish it would have them, but ultimately you're not going to see me complain about it, and there's one real reason for that, simply because I knew that this drone did not have side avoidance sensors before I bought it. That just seems completely silly, and whilst it might be frustrating, I can't really complain that it doesn't have side avoidance sensors when I knew fine well it didn't have side avoidance sensors before I bought it. That's just being completely fair. One thing to mention, if you are interested in watching all of the videos that I've done on the Air 2S, you can do so using the playlist in the card above my head, and I will leave a link to the playlist in the description below. One really cool feature I really like on this drone is the FPV mode. Now, yes, it is on the Mavic Mini, and yes, it is on the Mini 2. However, this is the first drone I've really played about with it in some detail. If you don't know what FPV mode is, effectively it fixes the horizon on the drone. So if the drone actually tilts on banks, you get that full effect on camera rather than it being gimbal stabilized. That was the first time I've ever done any FPV footage, and I just found it so much fun. The FPV mode on this drone is greatly complemented by the fact that the ascend and descend rates have been increased for this drone, meaning obviously it could gain height and lose height so much faster, which is so much more fun and usable when in FPV mode as well. Also part of this is the new OcuSync 3.0 or O3. Now that gives you a lower latency feedback between the controller and the drone, or your phone, what you're seeing on your phone and the drone, meaning that you are going to get a much more crisp, smooth and real-time feedback. And that's especially useful, especially in sport mode when you're doing FPV mode or something like that. That is really beneficial. I mean, seriously, this thing can do pretty much 45 miles per hour. It's bloody fast. And yeah, at some point I will post that FPV video that I have already done. I do need to get around to it, but honestly, one of my favorite features, 100%. One of the main things that I genuinely like about the Air 2S, or indeed DJI in general, is the fact that they allow you to use the batteries from the Mavic Air 2 on the new Air 2S. So if you do currently own the Mavic Air 2 and you have the Fly More combo, and you want to upgrade to something like the Air 2S for all its additional features and benefits, when you buy this drone, you do not actually have to buy the Fly More combo if you don't want to. You can simply buy the standard package, which should save you a little bit of money in the long run. Not to mention the propellers are also the exact same. So if you have, for example, some Master Air Screw low noise propellers for, again, the Mavic Air 2, they are absolutely compatible with the Air 2S, saving you a little bit of money. So yeah, that's a really good job from DJI there. For the first time, AirSense is actually now available to anybody. If you don't know what AirSense is, it is technology powered by ADS-B radio transmission, and it basically alerts you if there is aircraft in the vicinity. A really good safety feature. Unfortunately, up until now, it was only available on the Mavic Air 2 for users in North America. Us in Europe, we did not get it, whereas now with the Air 2S, that is now fully enabled. And actually, this really came in useful when I was flying around doing my FPV footage video. As I was flying along, I got a notification on my screen to say that there was an aircraft nearby, and incidentally, straight away, due to safety measures, I decided to stop the drone and point the gimbal upwards, and as you can see on screen, that plane was nicely flying by. AirSense, I think, is a huge safety feature, and if possible, I think it should be on absolutely every single drone. And one thing to mention is not all aircraft are actually broadcasting ADS-B, so if you are flying your drone and an aircraft goes by and it does not ping up, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a problem with the drone. It might be that aircraft is not actually transponding the ADS-B signal at that time. A really cool new feature, which is exclusive to the DJI Air 2S, is something called Master Shots. A Master Shot is an autonomous flight mode that you can select within the DJI Fly app, where the drone will use a multitude of quick shots once you have selected a target, and then it will create a 2-minute video all on its own. At the end of that 2-minute video, it will even edit it for you using a pre-selected template, which of course you can change to your liking at the end. It is a really, really cool way to not have to fly your drone and just let the drone get some absolutely superb footage of you and your surroundings. Once it's completed the quick shot, the drone will actually edit that for you into a 30-second clip with a preset template. You can of course change that in the DJI Fly app once it's completed to suit your needs. You can then very quick and easily share it to social media or friends and family. I think that's a really, really nice feature. So moving on from Master Shots then, we still have our pre-built quick shots within the DJI Fly app. Just like the Master Shots, they are a pre-selected flight path executed by the drone completely autonomously, making sure it keeps you in frame and so much easier than having to try fly it manually. Now, what's new on the DJI Air 2S is something I call Smart Gesture Control. So all you need to do is select the quick shot that you want to execute, and instead of having to select it using the controller and having your controller in shot, you simply raise your arm, making sure your elbow is above your shoulder. The drone will automatically recognize and start the quick shot. That's really, really cool. And again, if you want to check out that video, you will be able to do so using this card. So ultimately then, would I recommend you buy this drone? That is categorically a huge 100% yes. I absolutely love this thing, and I just think its capabilities overall just open up so much more possibilities. Whether you are an average user or a prosumer, professional, doesn't matter. This drone has got some features that I think you will find useful. And don't forget, let's talk about restrictions for a little while. You know, many people talk about restrictions, but ultimately, most people, when I see, and I've said this before, when I see most of you guys posting photos and videos of castles, bridges, anything scenic, you are generally out of the restriction zone anyway. So why not enjoy the additional benefits that something like this does give you? Yes, I do appreciate it is a lot of money, and it is going to be a big considered purchase for many, many people. Of course, I paid for this out of my own pocket, and I can tell you now, I absolutely do not regret it whatsoever. Some of the photos and picture quality and video I've had out with this drone, not to mention being able to use the active track to get some really, really cool shots, you know, the added additional safety of AirSense and just everything about it, I think is absolutely superb. And like I said, that increased ascend and descend speed as well just make this drone so much more nimble, and I cannot praise it enough. So guys, if you're thinking about getting one of these and this video has helped you make that decision, there will be some buying links in the description below. It really helps the channel out if you use those. Thank you very much for watching, and see you again soon.